Have you ever driven by a big bank in your town and wondered what's going on in there or who works there or what opportunities may be available for you? Well, today is your episode because today on Coffee with Chuck, we're going to talk with some real live bankers. I'm really excited to have three gentlemen joining me today. They're all associated with the Kansas Bankers Association, and I have known one of them for a long time. Alex Orrell is the Senior Vice President of Government Relations for the KBA. And Derek Bailey is one of the, well, actually, Grant and Derek are on the KBA Board of Directors. Grant is the president of the Young Bankers of Kansas, and they gave us some money earlier this year. So we're very excited about our partnership with the KBA and the Young Bankers, but we're also really pleased to partner with them on an event in April, the 18th through the 22nd. That whole week is going to be JAG-K with the KBA. And so we're really excited. I think we started to call it JAG-K Day with the KBA, but since it's over a week, we're just going to go with JAG-K with the KBA. But that's going to be an opportunity for each of you within your communities to partner with one of your local banks. And today I wanted to visit with Derek, Alex, and Grant about their banking careers, about the KBA, about banking, and maybe some of the other careers that are involved with the banking industry. So, Alex, I guess I've known you the longest. So why don't you kind of kick us off here? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with the KBA.
Chuck, first and foremost, great to see you. As always, it's a pleasure working with you. I appreciate all that you do for JAG-K and appreciate all what your team does in the participating school districts. You guys got a great team, and it's been a pleasure partnering with you all. First and foremost, I've known Chuck since 2014, and so you got a great team leader for all of those listening to this. I've first started out with the KBA almost 4 years ago. I'm an association professional. I'm not a banker. The two gentlemen on this call are bankers, real life bankers that I work for. They are on my board of directors. They guide me, lead me, and teach me the way of the banking sector. I serve as at the pleasure of them and work for them. And I have a distinct relationship with both of them. Grant Pates is the president of my Young Bankers division. The Young Bankers division is a group of bankers under the age of 45 that helps with professional development, leadership development, networking within our state. And Grant leads that division. And it was that division that helped spearhead the relationship with JAG-K. And I know Grant was probably going to say a few words on that, so I'm not going to steal his thunder. And Derek Bailey used to lead that division too, and Derek serves on my board of directors. But I have the pleasure of leading our Young Bankers division here from the staff perspective, in answer to that board of directors. I grew up in Kansas City, Kansas, downtown KCK, about 17th and Orville, for anybody that knows where that's at. I grew up, my mom was a nurse. My dad was a fireman. My brother's a banker in the inner city in KCK. So any programs that, help any of the inner city is something that's always been near and dear to my heart. And I know you got urban and rural, Chuck, but anything that has been able to help those kids, in those communities is something that is something special to me and means a lot. And I've been very fortunate enough now to have had some great teachers over the years that's helped me land in my current position here at the KBA. The KBA has been around a long time. We're one of the oldest state banking associations in the country who provide education, training, and advocacy to bankers, 22,000 bankers across our state that provide financial services in every single county of our state. We're the only financial industry that can say that. We're dedicated to communities and customers we serve because we're only as successful as communities and customers we serve. So we're looking forward to this partnership. There's a lot of things going on in workforce development, financial literacy, and we look forward to talking about those two things, but appreciate the opportunity to be here with you, Chuck.
Grant, how would you like to go next?
Sounds great. I'm not as long-winded as Alex. I'm not a professional speaker, but I will I will do my best. I am not a Kansas boy. I grew up in Nebraska, but moved down here for college, and fell in love with Kansas. Fell in love with Wichita. My foray into banking was not expected. I guess maybe not what you would call a traditional banker. I started in the IT field. Originally thought maybe I wanted to start a business in high school. I kind of went through the entrepreneurship and found out that maybe I'm just not that much of a risk taker. So I landed in a very stable field, in a very stable sector of our economy. So I moved down here, got my IT degree, and my first job out of college was at a bank, but I would say that was not expected by any means, but I quickly fell in love with it. Banks have a special place in each of the communities, and the way that we're able to interact and serve and be part of the community has been something that's kind of wasn't expected coming out of college, but love the banking field. I've been in it now for my entire career, which looking back is about 16 17 years, and I think 12 of that has been with maybe 14 of that has been with something with the KBA. So my entire banking career, I've been associated with the KBA, got involved with YBOC very early, and have kind of worked up through the ranks, and now have the honor of serving that organization and the KBA itself. So that's how I got started, and I'm extremely grateful for it.
Great, Derek.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Chuck, for having us. A little bit different. I did go straight into banking out of KU, but I know when I went to KU back in 2002, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was love math, and really took a finance degree approach at KU. But when I stopped playing baseball at KU, I realized I needed to get a job, or I was going to probably lose my girlfriend that I had for 4 years. So I thought, what better place to use my math skills than as a teller in banking? And again, I tellered for 6 months, got my finance degree from KU, and then was working at a small community bank there in Lawrence, Kansas, which is where I still live and work today. Again, grew that bank to a $200 million bank, starting as a teller, going as a credit analyst, kind of wearing all the hats in that bank. But again, when I started, it was just a job. And now it's absolutely a career that, again, I didn't have family in banking, none of the above. But again, the freedom that you get in our industry, everybody may think of the clean shaven jacket wearing banker with a tie, and I think I might have been supposed to wear a tie today, but at the same time, I don't have to every day. That's kind of the beauty of our role, that our rule is you dress for your day. So do I wear a suit and tie some days? Absolutely, I do. Do I wear jeans some days when there's 2 inches of snow on the ground? Of course. So the kind of the freedom is one of the biggest benefits that I see in our industry. And again, there's like Grant mentioned, there is no one size fits all banker that goes in. There's 100 different avenues that you can pursue a career in banking. But again, one of the beauties of ours is we get to make our schedules. If there's an opportunity to go do a fundraiser or a philanthropy during the day, we can make our schedule and we go do that. The beauty of it, if I wanted to go home at 3:00 today after this meeting, I could, but I'd probably be up later or here longer later in the week. So again, that's kind of the beauty of kind of our professions, that we do what we need to do day to day. And again, we don't have to punch a clock. The freedom that it gives me is invaluable in my day to day.
Well, Grant mentioned IT was an entry, and you mentioned a variety of opportunities within the banking industry, all types of, lending, ag lending, business lending, those types of things. But what can someone who's in high school right now, who may have an interest in banking, or maybe not, just looking for a good job, what are opportunities available for someone who may not yet be 18? You mentioned teller. Do you have to be 18 to be a teller? So what could someone like that do to get introduced to a career in banking?
Certainly, teller. I think we had I think 16 is probably the standard, but I know we had nephew of a board member working at 15 in the bank. And so, I mean, there's no real requirements as far as an age or degree to get into banking. There's a lot of lifetime bankers that don't even have a college degree. So again, it is not something that you have to go. It's not a prerequisite. You're not going to med school. It's like I could have done my jobs directly out of high school. Absolutely, day to day. It's building relationships and doing. It's kind of the golden rule of business. You do what you say you're going to do and treat others like you want to be treated. And again, those are the repeat customers and the referrals that you get from those type of. That's how you grow your business. So I mean, that's where you absolutely do not have to have a college education to get into banking, and it's more of a learn on the job in my experience than a sophisticated training.
Grant, what's your favorite part of your job, and maybe what are some of the challenging things that if you could, cross off the job description or, avoid, what you would?
That's interesting. So if I truly do love my job, there's not a whole lot that I would want to cross off, and if I did, it wouldn't be because of it would be more about my personality, right? It's about how my personality fits with the job. I love coming in and doing something different every day. Give me the stuff that's different, that's new, that's a challenge, that's dynamic, and I will go after it. Give me something that's doing journal entries or things like that. That's just not what I enjoy. So when I think about that, it's not that's not a job that's important or something that somebody wouldn't love to do. It's just not the way I work. But so I do love that about my job, just being able to come in, be a problem solver, find solutions. But really, when you get to see, call it the fruits of your work or the fruits of your business inside the communities, that's pretty awesome. That's one of the favorite things. You always want to make sure, you want to have a meaningful career, something that you can get behind. And when you can kind of see your company get behind initiatives that you believe in or businesses you believe in, that's fun to be able to go out and see.
I was in 4-H, and so one of my first bank loans was when I was in grade school for a livestock project. My dad had to co-sign, I think, but the bank was really a comfortable place for me because we had a farm, and so we had to have a good relationship with the banker. But it wasn't scary to me because I'd been going in there from an early age. But today, banking seems to be a little bit different than it was, almost 50 years ago. There's still checking accounts and savings accounts, but how have you all seen the banking industry change? Because if you want, you don't have to step foot in a bank. You can do it online. You can go through the ATM. And so I know you're talking about relationships in some of the other aspects of what you're doing, but just generally, or maybe specifically in some cases, how has banking changed and how is it better or how is it more challenging for you? Derek or Eric or Alex, either one, or Grant, you can go back to it.
Take it away, Alex. No, I think you absolutely don't see as many people in the bank day to day, but as the world changes, so do our approaches to it. And I see fewer customers in the bank, absolutely day to day, but most things that need to get done are still done in person, whether that's me going to the banker or going to the customer's office or them coming in, vice versa. And really the technology of the world today has really changed a lot of that aspect where they don't need to take an hour out of their day to, even if we are across the street, it takes them time to get their stuff together, put it together, bring it to the bank, probably get sidetracked in 6 things as they're walking out of the office. They don't have to justify making a special trip somewhere. They can just get it done open up the browser and get it done. So we're here for what I think, as Grant mentioned, problem solvers, the complex problems that when maybe one of those technology pieces doesn't work one day, we get the call. We get to fix that, or maybe they just don't know how to do it. And we look at it as the savior. I can come in and show them that, well, that was really easy, but it took 5 minutes of my day that saves them exponential time going forward. So those are kind of the cool things that have changed in the last, again, almost the exact same time in banking, 16 years as Grant. That again, I'm as a teller, I didn't have any online transactions 16 years ago, but now I haven't processed a transaction in 15 years. So that's kind of absolutely the biggest change from our point of view. But it's same, as much of it has changed, there's still absolutely a face-to-face that when you need something to get done, when that problem needs to be solved, we get together and sit across the table and figure it out, because that's the only way it happens. And so that's where maybe some things haven't changed, but again, a lot of you just got to continue to adjust and adapt.
Relationships still matter, and you need to be able to communicate with people to be successful. And I think that's one of the things we teach our students is relationships are important, and networking. I would suspect that all three of you have had wonderful networking opportunities in your careers, maybe even to start your career. So can you tell me, or Derek, we'll go back to you real quick, because you said you were a teller and then you kind of moved up. What was your job progression? Because a lot of our students are probably, if they're going to go into banking, maybe they will start in the teller position. Now, maybe they'll go to HR if they have a specialized degree or something like that. But what was your career trajectory from that first position?
Yep. So teller, again, you're customer facing from the outset. And again, a lot of banks are different. They have, even as a teller, you have sales expectations. You are trying to grow the business. You are the face of the bank, because that's who the customers will see on a daily basis. So again, it's not you may not think it's a glorious position, but again, my work as a teller is what prompted me into being promoted to a credit analyst, and from that credit analyst being a loan processor, and from being a loan processor to a junior lender, and then that junior lender, I can do this. This really isn't rocket science. It's, again, who do you have a relationship with? Who likes working with you? Again, you don't work well with everyone, no matter who you are. There are people that you want to do business with, but we want those people to do business just as much with us. So that's absolutely the relationship piece is second to none, because Grant, I might have a great loan, but if I don't take care of that customer, there's 50 other banks that are willing to do the same thing, and they may do it a little better than me even. So again, I better take care of my customer, or else. Then again, it's a lot easier to retain an existing customer than it is to go out and get a new one. But yeah, that was really the progression for me. Is I could have been like you said, HR, IT, all the kind of the different points of the bank. I could have went into being a regulator. That basically scrutinizes banks. I mean, there's just countless avenues in our industry, but you really do pick the one that kind of jives well with you. And probably one of my favorite things about my job is when we can get something done that maybe someone didn't think they could get approved, and maybe there's a special program out there for that type of borrower. Again, if I don't know it, I don't know my job, then I don't even think of it. We just say, no, we can't help you. Well, the best ones are ones that they're a challenge. You don't think you're going to get them done, and then magically they had something that they forgot to mention that sweetens the credit, and it's a no-brainer to get it done. And then again, you really kind of do the unexpected sometimes, and that's when you can really make people's lives and change not only your own career path but theirs.
Grant, you had mentioned community earlier. I know local banks are really invested in their community, and I'm curious, what are some of the things that you all have done to help your communities get better, or maybe help through, a difficult time? What does that look like?
One of the things that's probably the most, I guess, in most recent memory, and maybe this won't resonate with students or not, but if they've heard anything about PPP loans, this was a program that was created in the midst of the pandemic to keep small businesses open. And it meant processing thousands of loans for our bank, thousands of loans in a very, very short time period, so people could keep their doors open, so people could continue to be paid, and so our economy can kind of continue to run. And I know we have a small staff to kind of take care of a lot of those loans. A lot of the community banks around do, but I think primarily across the nation, it was the community banks doing it that were really pulling the heaviest loads. And I mean, I remember an email from our bank president, about this time last year, where we had people working through Easter weekend at night to get these loans done and processed. So banks had some assurances that they could open their doors the next day and those sorts of things. So not necessarily a philanthropic kind of cause, but to be able to do that for the community was huge.
Alex, you work with large banks, smaller banks. I forgot how many members you have statewide, but you talk to a lot of people. You're in a lot of communities, and we're excited about this partnership for a number of reasons. One is this event coming up April 18th through the 22nd, JAG-K Day with the KBA. And it's over a week period of time. So each individual program, JAG-K program, can work out the details with their local banks to kind of put this together. But what does the KBA envision these opportunities will look like?
Sure. No, thanks, Chuck. And, to even get to that day, I'm gonna have to back up to last year with the Young Bankers conference. And, that was spearheaded by Grant and Derek and the rest of the Young Bankers board. We did kind of a dry run of this at Intrust Bank in Wichita, where we brought in some local participating school districts in the Wichita area, and we brought them into the bank. And we had the president of the bank and a couple other representatives, and actually these two gentlemen, have a conversation with the students. Not necessarily a presentation; it can be a presentation, but talking about careers in banking and talking about what banks do for their communities. And about an hour-long presentation, and allowed them to ask us questions about, one, how did we get our start? What it took for us to get to the positions we are, kind of the things you've heard today. What are ways they can get into this career force? You mentioned, I'm glad that Grant mentioned PPP, because, all banks we shared the same goal. We wanted to keep as many people in their jobs as possible, and PPP was the way to do that. But at the same time, during the pandemic, banks were an essential business and they remained open. And so to let the students know that, careers in banking is a very stable workforce that provide great benefits, that provide good time hours for you to work as well, and that it should be a career that you look for, and that they are hiring. And it isn't just that people are wearing a tie. I'm wearing a tie today because I had some meetings, but you look at Derek. Derek's a little more casual today. You dress for your day. But we're envisioning in April. I think there's 81 participating school districts, Chuck, to have as many participating financial institutions in the state partner with those 81 school districts within their communities. We'll send out those lists. KBA and JAG-K will drive those efforts along with the Young Bankers Division led by Grant, of getting as many of those institutions signed up to have a little presentation like that in those school districts, with those local career specialists, to give a presentation, talk about financial literacy a little bit, talk about the importance of credit, talk about the importance of debt and things they need to be looking at as they're looking to college, but at the same time talk about careers in banking and things they need to be looking forward in the future. And to hopefully organically build those local relationships between the institutions and those school districts. I know JAG-K took first in the country in financial literacy last year at a national competition. And with February being Financial Literacy Month too, it goes hand in hand with our goal at the KBA. One of our issues, one of our pieces of our strategic plan, we adopt one every 3 years, is workforce development. That is something we adopted just last year with these two gentlemen's help. That we are looking at very seriously moving forward, how we can be a resource and help in our communities. So April 19th or April 18th through the 22nd, have as many institutions partner and get together with those career specialists to give an hour-long presentation or a conversation. Not a big time commitment, but to help bridge that gap of that relationship, and so that they continue to have that relationship moving forward. YBOC's going to have a major piece of that move forward, since they're the ones that, kind of started this relationship, but it's going to be an industry piece and industry led.
And just as we conclude, I'm curious if a young person was in your offices, and they were asking, what are the most important skills I need to be successful in the banking industry? What would those 2 or 3 things be? And Derek, we'll start with you. And it can be one.
Man, I was gonna use my time there to think of a few
But I
winners.
know you're a quick thinker because you're a KU grad.
That's right. There we go. I'd say really just the integrity and honesty. In banking, in day-to-day business, problems happen. And kind of the biggest thing that I learned at an early age is that, again, if there's a hard question, you don't know the answer to it, you ask, and you figure out the problem right away. Because the longer you carry on an issue that is outstanding, even if you messed up, if I'm the one that screwed it up in the first place, I got to raise my hand and we got to address that issue. So that kind of ties into the integrity, is that, again, nobody's perfect. This banking is not perfect. We make mistakes every day, and again, part of our morning routine is fixing problems that we had from the day before. It's just part of the deal. But the worst problems in banking, the bad loans, they get worse when you don't address the elephant in the room from the outset. So again, I think that integrity is probably the biggest one. And again, like I said before, it's not rocket science. You don't have to be a Mensa scholar to excel in this industry. So again, it's caring is really probably the other thing that I would say, is that you care enough to work with, again, the people that you want to work with, and they reciprocate that by returning that favor and repeat business and all of the above. So that's, I'd say, the integrity and caring.
Right, Grant, and we can assume that you think integrity is important too. So what's another thing? Oh, you're muted, Grant. Sorry about that.
Surprised that's the first time that's happened. So, I'm with Derek. A lot of it comes down to character qualities. When it comes to a workforce skill, what's great about banks is that all sorts of types of people with different strengths have their own little pockets where they can do really well inside of a bank. So if you think, oh, you're not necessarily good with numbers, that doesn't mean you can't work at a bank. There's all sorts of positions in marketing and HR and places like that you can work inside a bank. Yes, if you're good with numbers, you can do that. If you are a critical thinker, problem solver, every bank has some sort of IT needs, things like those careers. So from a soft skills standpoint, we have character qualities that we kind of hold near and dear to our heart here at Interest, and those are all central. They need to be with everybody. But then really when it comes down to outside the character, there's a very, very wide set of skills that can play a pretty dramatic role in a bank.
Great. Well, thank you again. We're all looking forward to JAG-K Day with the KBA, April 18th through the 22nd. We also, again, just really appreciate the support we get from the KBA and from the bankers and from these individuals. And we know there are people in communities just like them that want to help our JAG-K students learn about the banking industry, but also to just be better people. And we all know that community service and civic engagement is important. And I don't think you're going to find an entity that's as invested in their communities, literally, than your local banker. So we really appreciate the 3 of you joining us today, the KBA, and we'll have some great video, I'm sure, from across the state later in April. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks for watching Coffee with Chuck. Please subscribe below, and you may want to check out the video that's attached.